Hello everyone, welcome again to one of our Tuesday Facebook Lives. I'm really looking forward to today because we have some new introductions for you, very excited about it. But just a reminder that there's still time to sign up for our May So Confident, either for a monthly subscription or monthly purchase of $45. You can make one of the two whistle shirts, either the short sleeve or the long sleeve, and we're using these fantastic painterly panels that are printed on cotton fabric. I recorded the video last week, so it'll be out in about a week and a half, the class, which you can watch anytime. There have been some questions about that, whether you have to tune in exactly on Friday at a certain time. That Friday is May 21st, but once that's released at midnight, no, you don't have to get up and watch it. You can watch it forever, so you own the class. So you can sign up by the month for $45, or of course there's always time to sign up for the yearly program, and you'll get all of the content starting in last January up to this time now, and then you'll of course get the rest of the content as they're produced every month after, whenever you sign up. But I want to tell you about the June project, because we are using a printed pattern, and we know that a lot of you are international customers or Canadian customers, and our postal system might be a little bit slow, or things are getting slow getting to you. So it's going to be based on using the hibiscus shirt. We just put that pattern online yesterday. So if you want to order the pattern, use your So Confident discount code. Go ahead and order it now. It'll give you time to get that pattern and get some preparation work done on it, work out some fitting issues, and then you'll be ready to go in June. So that's on the website as of yesterday. One of the questions that I received sometime in the last week or so was something about, well, before I get into that, I want to remind you of one other little thing. I forgot about this. So you all know that I'm into textile collages, and one of my favorite artists is named Mandy Patullo. And I always remember how to spell that because it's 2 T's and 2 L's. P-A-T-T-U-L-L-O, Mandy Patullo. And she's based in the UK, northern England, up by the Scottish border. And I actually had the privilege a couple of years ago with my daughter Alex of actually going to her studio and taking a class. And as I said to Alex on Mother's Day, aside from having Alex, which was the best day of my life, and marrying my husband, which was the second best day of my life, going to Mandy's studio was very possibly the third best day of my life, because I love her as a person, I love her as a teacher, and I'm fascinated by all that she does. Now, you also know that we do workshops in France, and we're doing one in August. We think we're going. We'll see, but at Chateau du Mât, and that is owned by a woman by the name of Lizzie Holm, and she lives in London most of the time. She also has a company called Textile Retreats, and Mandy Patullo is one of the teachers who shows up at Chateau du Mât, a place called New Forest, and Lizzie and Mandy have hooked up and created a Zoom online class. And it's making dolls. Now, I grew up making dolls and doll clothes. I mean, I still have my Jenny doll clothes, my Barbie doll clothes, my baby doll clothes. I love dolls. So the class that you could sign up for has to do with making 2 dolls that are based on historical dolls. And she has a very unique way of making these dolls, which I'd never seen before. And you get a kit once you sign up for the class, and you get all of these vintage textiles, both French and English fabrics. And I've watched the Zoom class. She's really a good teacher. It was great to watch. So if you're interested, you can sign up for the class and get a kit if you go to textileretreats.com, or you can go check out Instagram, Textile Retreats, or Mandy Patullo, and you'll find out more about the class making the dolls. So just wanted to tell you about that. Okay, now I want to tell you about the question that I got last week. And it was a good question, and I actually had to look it up. The question was, what is the difference between lawn and voile? So I'm going to get my notes out here. So I have a library of books. Not everybody has books anymore, but I still love books. I have quite a collection of books. And I also am interested in textiles, and as an interior design and fashion design student at Kansas State, of course, textiles was a big part of what I studied. So the two books that I refer to often are, the textbook type one is Fairchild's Dictionary of Textiles. If you ever want to know about the properties of any textiles, how they're constructed, the names, the differences, this is literally a dictionary of textiles, and I love this book. But if you want a quick study, this is a really fun book called Fashion A to Z. And so I looked up the difference between voile and lawn in both of these books and sort of brought it all together and boiled it down into a real simplified, what is the difference? Well, voile they're both lightweight sheer fabrics. They're both plain weaves, so they're very similar. But voile can be made in cotton, wool, silk, rayon, acetate, a multitude of natural fibers. Lawn is sometimes called batiste. We don't refer to voile as batiste, but lawn can be batiste, or a word called nainsook, which we never see anymore. Lawn was originally made in linen, and really it's very similar, except that it has more body than voile, and it is cotton. So you're not going to see lawn made in wool and linen, or silk, rayon, and all of that. So hopefully that clears that up for you, and it was a nice lead-in to what we're going to talk about today, because we're introducing a new pattern. It's called the Coco Blouse. I have it on. Here it is on the dress form. And I've made it in not a lawn or a voile, but definitely a sheer fabric. It's a viscose crepe. And it's very much like a georgette, but georgette is generally made in silk, but georgette, as opposed to chiffon, is a crepe, has a little bit of a crimped fiber to it. And so mine is in a viscose crepe. Now, if you are a follower of the sewing workshop, and I know a lot of you are, and you have patterns from way, way back, you probably have this pattern because we originally called it the wonton blouse. We didn't make any changes whatsoever to the pattern. So if you have that pattern as a printed pattern, you have it. But we have reintroduced this pattern as a download pattern because our download business has just exploded and become very, very popular. So it is a download pattern, and we renamed it the Coco Blouse. So I hadn't made one in a long, long time, and I decided to make one on Sunday. Cut it out on Saturday, make it on Sunday. Normally, I'm not somebody who really likes to sew in a hurry, but I did want to have it made for today. So I got myself kind of all squared away in my mind to work with this fabric and make this garment. And I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of weeks ago, I did kind of admit that I'd lost my sewing mojo just a little bit. Just really wasn't all that excited about sewing. But I got into this project, and I don't know, the day just went by. I loved sewing this. It was easy, it was pretty quick, and it was different. I did some things that I haven't done for a while. You know, I haven't done a V-neck with a crossed band like this. I haven't put an invisible zipper in for a long time, and this has one on the side. There was just something about the shape of this that was just kind of new and different and really fun. And I decided, oh, I think I have my mojo back. Now I'm ready to sew today and tomorrow and get ready for some photo shoots and some things we have coming up. So I'm kind of ready to go. So it does have this wide band. It is cut on the straighted grain, so it's not too fussy. And we have a really great technique for sewing this V It has a nice band that's contoured and shaped. There is a little bit of an invisible zipper. It's only about 6 inches long that goes through this curve of the side seam, and it has a very traditional sort of kimono style sleeve to it. So it is a garment where you want to maybe wear something underneath, even if it's not sheer fabric. I have on a tank. We always have our Mix-It tank, which is a wonderful companion to any sort of underlayer of garment to wear. It's one of my favorite tanks. Now, I didn't exactly know what size I was, and so the way I determined what size to make was I measured my waist, which of course is always a scary thing, and then I measured about an inch or two below my waist because I wanted this band to sit just a little bit below my waist. So I chose my size based on this. Normally on a top you would choose a size based on your bust measurement, but in this case I based the size on my waist measurement. I took my waist measurement and I added 1 inch so that this band sits just perfectly on the high hip, and I like the way it sits. So you can make this in all kinds of things. I have it in the viscose crepe. This is in a very lightweight silk like China silk. This is silk crepe de chine in this fabulous print that we used to have, and I so wish we could get more of this, but we can't. It was so much fun. And Erin is going to come around here. She has it on in a knit. This is a fairly stable cotton overlock knit, so it doesn't have a lot of stretch to it, but we've been talking about what we're going to do for our next round of Coco blouses. We're going to make this in some knits and maybe use ribbing for the band, or you even thought of the idea of leaving the sides open.
Right, and then having ties on both sides. I think that'd be really fun.
Yes. So it works in, I think, almost any fabric. It does have to be somewhat drapey, I think, because you want the sleeves to really drape and create this nice line to it. So anyway, I wanted to show it to you in the knit, but I do have a funny story to tell you. So Betsy, who some of you know, and I think you'll be seeing next week because she's our guest, so to speak, next week, made her Coco in this beautiful cotton. So this would be lawn. I have to check my notes. Is that right? Yes, this would be cotton lawn, not voile. And this is a print. It's up here. You can see that it's a floral print, but it has this beautiful border. So she used the border for the band at the neck and the bottom contour band as well. So we were putting this, let's see if this works. Not really. Interesting. Well, we had this hanging on the rack downstairs in the studio on top of another one. And the other one hung down, it was this one that was behind it actually. It hung down a couple of inches, it was lower here, the sleeves were a lot longer, and we knew this wasn't a really much larger size. We just couldn't figure out why this was so tiny. We thought, oh my gosh, that extra small is super tiny in this pattern. Well, we asked Betsy what size she made, and she came back kind of with her tail between her legs and said, oh, when she printed this out on her home printer, the download pattern, she didn't change the scale to 100%, and she printed this out at 75%. So the lesson learned is, if you ever want to downsize your patterns from an extra small, you just set your printer to a different percentage and you'll have a smaller garment. So there you go. We've had a good laugh with Betsy about that. I think I'm going to leave that up there. It's so cute. It's such a dark, but you can tell how tiny, tiny Betsy is. All right, so what do you wear this with? I guess you need to come back around here. Sorry about that. Yeah, so Erin has this on with an E dress. So it's a whole dress. And we also have, do we have a line on this pattern? Yes, we do. Okay, so on the e-dress pattern, which is a download pattern, there is a line where you can cut the dress off and make a skirt. So you could wear this with the dress or the skirt. I thought it was a brilliant idea to wear it with a dress. I wouldn't have thought of that. But Erin wears dresses a lot, and she's always wearing these top layers over your dresses. So I think that's really fun. But this is the e-dress or e-skirt, so this is all part of the e-dress pattern. Here's what the dress looks like without the top. It's a sleeveless dress, although there is a sleeve. The sleeve from the Ann's cardigan actually fits in this dress, so you can make it with sleeves or without sleeves, but it's a great piece to wear under your Coco blouse. We like the idea of wearing something that has some shape at the waist with a pant that's fuller at the bottom, and this is the West End pants. That'd be a great profile. I walked in this morning actually with my Picasso pants on, and I put this blouse on, and I thought the profile really looked good. So I think the lesson is that you want something, you can wear a pant or a skirt that has a little bit of volume lower, so that the shape of this Coco blouse is really accentuated and it's brought in at the waist and the hips. I have it on with the 6th Sense skirt, which is a skirt that I really, really like. This is in a black knit, and you can see that it crosses over. It's a wrap skirt. There's a seam down the center back of this skirt, and the two rectangles cross over and are held together by this pocket. I commented this morning, I need to wear this more often. I love this skirt. It has a flat band in the front, and then it's gathered in the back. So it's very, very comfortable to wear. Now, I don't know if you can see my shoes. Can you see my shoes? Am I going to have to take a shoe off? I'll just take it off. You have to see my shoes. You know, I had to match my top with my shoes today. These are shoes from 30 years ago that I dug out of the closet today. Love them. Can't believe I still have them. So, have to have the right shoes. All right, so 6th Sense skirt, e-dress, e-skirt, Picasso pants, West End pants, mix-it tank. We think those are good patterns to wear. So let's look at some fabrics. You know, it's interesting. We have a lot of things that I would look at and think are silk, but there's so many of them that are rayon or silk and viscose or rayon blends. I think it's because the price of silk has really skyrocketed, and the designers are maybe not using as much 100% silk as they used to, so there are more blends than there used to be. For instance, I look at this, which is very much the same weight as what I have on. I would have said this was a silk crepe. It's somewhat sheer, not terribly sheer, but a little bit, but this is viscose, meaning rayon. But this has the right drape, this has the right feel. I'm crazy about this. I think these bold prints are just really exciting to me. Maybe I'm just tired of my same old humdrum solid fabrics that I wear so much, and I'm really into prints this spring. This one I'm going to have to look at because I can't remember. This is silk and viscose, but a beautiful, beautiful trailing series of florals and stems and leaves in dark navy, pale, pale blush colors, a beautiful blueberry blue, a little bit of pink and red. I think this is the only fabric on the wall that's actually all silk. And this is a burnout. Devoray is another word for it, where some of the fibers have been removed with a chemical process so that you can read through it in certain areas. And oh my gosh, is that beautiful or what? This is cotton, I believe. For some reason it's not marked, and so Betsy may have to look that up and correct me if I'm wrong in the chats. But this abstract, there's more of a concentration at this side of these circles that I think kind of look like wood. and then they spread out. There's a designer's name on it or a place. I'm not sure. It says Manila Grace, and I don't know if that's a brand or a place. But whatever it is, there's a little bit of writing on it. But I love the fact that this would be a voile or a lawn. This would be a lawn. I'll get this straight by the time this is over. So I think this is a lawn. This is a wonderful sort of animal print. Again, a Devaray type process, so it's sheer and not as sheer. And this is polyester. And then, of course, the one I have on is viscose. I just love the vibrancy of the green, and I love that sea green color with it on the black background. So this is kind of our dark side of the wall today. Then, of course, we have Betsy's that she used, which is all cotton. This feels so good. It's so soft and beautiful, and I don't know, I think this is just charming. This is fun as well, with the interesting combination of the acid yellows and the blues and the soft mint greens, but this is polyester. But again, a very nice, lightweight, semi-sheer fabric. I've shown this one before. I'm going to make something out of this. I don't know what yet. It may be a skirt. It may be a Coco. It may be a blouse. I don't know, but this is something I just simply want to use because I love this fabric. This is cotton and something. Silk, maybe. Cotton and silk. 70% cotton, 30% silk. Has a very voile-like characteristic to it. It really looks more like cotton than anything. A little bit sheer. And then we have the Paisley, and again, a border that could be used for bands. I think this is a really interesting use of color with a Paisley that's primarily a series of golds, and then you have this brown, black, and blue border. Very interesting. And that's sold in panels, and you could use that border for the bottom or the front band, whatever. All right, so are you intimidated yet by these fabrics that seem a little bit fussy? Well, I was really surprised and pleasantly surprised on Sunday when I made this that I just didn't have very much trouble dealing with this fabric, but let's talk about some of the ways to work with it. So, I am always loving a fabric that will tear to establish a straighter grain, and these fabrics tear. Now, polyesters and some of these Devarays may not, but the viscose silks and the cotton voiles and all of those, they just tear perfectly. But that doesn't mean you can cut them double layer. I thought I would maybe bypass the single layer cutting on Sunday, and I started to fold my fabric, thinking it would save time to cut it double. But by the time I was fussing with the edges and trying to get things all lined up, I said, oh phooey. It was going to be so much quicker just to cut it single layer. But you always want to cut it with the right side up. Not necessarily so much for the Coco, but you never know when there are definite rights and lefts to patterns, and so you always just want to make a habit of putting your fabric with the right side up. I use tailor tacks. I use silk thread and a really fine needle. I use these little needles by Clover. They're gold eye embroidery needles, and I use the smallest size, which is a 3. I think the 3 is the smallest size, or is the 9 the smallest size? I never know. But at any rate, it comes in from sizes 3 to 9, and I use the smallest size. But I love this needle. This is my favorite needle for all kinds of stitching. This is what I'm going to use to make my little dolls when that kit comes in as well. But I also, sometimes, if I feel like the silk thread or a needle is going to really damage the fabric, if I have some sort of an interior marking that's going to leave a little bit of a mar, then I will use my Chacapel fine pins, which I really like. So this is my second marking tool. That's my favorite. Tailor tacks are kind of first. Chacapi Chocopen. I say chalk copy. That's not quite right. Chocopel. Chacopel is the correct name for that. We get our pins from Japan. They are glass head silk pins, and they're very precise, very fine, and they're the perfect pin to use for this sort of fabric. Now, if you end up ordering any one of these fabrics today, we're going to send you, and you order thread, which by the way is our option. You can add the thread option to your orders. We're going to send you a 2-ply cotton thread. You can use a regular 50 weight cotton thread. There's no problem with that. But I used a 2-ply cotton thread, which we have a number of colors of, and that's what you will get if you order that fabric, any one of these fabrics. It's just a little bit lighter weight, and it's not as heavy in these semi-sheer fabrics. I think you'll really like it. I did break a thread once. I think it was because I was tugging at something. It was when I was sewing the zipper in, but I only had problems once. So, and we have a siren. Must be a fire. Hopefully it's not here. All right, I used a 65 millimeter needle, a really small needle. I asked Kathy Davis yesterday what needle she uses pretty much every day, and she uses a 75. So a 60, 65, 70, 75, that's the range you want to be in. I use a universal needle. But one caution, if you have an automatic threader on your sewing machine, meaning you punch that lever and threader comes through and threads the needle for you, those, at least for the brand that I use, that is built for a 75 to 80 needle, mostly an 80 needle. And if you're going to be using a smaller needle, you will break that feature, which I did some years ago, and that's how I know that I have to go ahead and thread the needle myself manually if I'm under an 80 or a 75. That was kind of an expensive fix, and so just a caution. When they build sewing machines, they're not thinking about people like us who are sewing on chiffon when they build those features. The band at the neck and the hip band are interfaced on one layer only, one side of this, and actually the outer piece of the bands are interfaced, and I use Japanese ultra shear interfacing. This is our supreme quality of interfacing that I love to use on everything. And generally, if I'm smart enough, I will fuse an area on the yardage where I'm going to cut these pieces out, and then I will cut out my pattern pieces and they're pre-fused. But sometimes I'm just not, I'm not thinking, I'm not astute enough to do that. And so I did cut out my hip bands and neck bands separately and the fusible interfacing separately. And so when I put them on my pressing surface to fuse together, I made sure that I put my pattern pieces back on there so I retained the same shape, and then I held the iron over it and steamed it and watched it just shrink up a little bit from the edges. So I do my pre-shrinking of my interfacing before I actually put the iron down to apply the interfacing. And I used a silk organza press cloth so that my iron doesn't get too fusy. Oh, I know what I did. I thought about it. I did not cut out the interfacing. I put the piece of interfacing on my ironing surface. Then I put the cut out pieces of rayon crepe on the glue side of the interfacing, and then I fused bits of it, and then I cut around the edges. That's what I did. I forgot about that. With scissors, this Japanese ultra shear interfacing does not like to be cut with rotary cutters particularly. It prefers scissors. Now there is an invisible zipper for about 6 inches on the side of this garment. And I thought this would be pretty fussy. And of all the techniques on this, this was the one where I had to really take a deep breath and watch things pretty carefully. So I referred to a tutorial that I wrote some years ago called Installing an Invisible Zipper, which I think is one of the best tutorials that we have. And I followed it. I chalk marked my seam allowance. I put fusy web in the seam allowances of the area. I fused the zipper tapes down, and I used the best presser foot that Bernina's ever come out with, at least. It's a number 35. It has 2 grooves on the underside, and those grooves fit the coils of the invisible zipper, and you don't have to think about where you're stitching. It just does the job for you. And then, of course, when you get to the end with the pull, the bottom end, then I use my generic zipper foot that's attached to my Bernina shank, so I can get this way away from the needle, and I can really get in there at the bottom of that zipper and start my stitching to complete the seam, and I don't get any puckers when I use this foot. So, all right, the sleeve of this garment in the pattern has a 7/8 inch hem allowance on the sleeve. And so the instructions tell you to press 3/8 of an inch and then press a 1/2 an inch, and you get a finished 1/2 inch hem allowance. But I decided to do the more classic baby hem finish on the sleeves in this fabric. And so I thought I'd talk to you one more time. I think I've done this before on Facebook Live, but just a review. This is the hem finish that I really like for fabrics like this that are very sheer or semi-sheer or very, very lightweight. So I decided that if the hem allowance was 7/8 of an inch, and I knew I was going to roll this a couple of times at 1/8 of an inch, that I could back off and go from 7/8 to 5/8 for my first row of stay stitching. So this is on single layer, 5/8 of an inch from the edge, and that creates this. It does a couple of things. It keeps the fabric from stretching out as you're hemming it later. It also creates this little fence that I call the fold line. It just is sort of saying, fold me here, please. I know if I've done a good job of keeping that at 5/8 of an inch, then I know I'm going to turn it at the proper place. So at this fold, I'm turning the fabric to the wrong side, that 5/8 of an inch, and I'm going to take my edge stitch foot, move the needle position over to the left, and stitch really, really close to that bottom fold. And then, I think I'll demonstrate this in a second, but I use these scissors, these Karen K. Bluckley scissors, to come along here and just trim really close, down to about 1/8 of an inch. And these scissors, I've tried a lot of scissors. I tried my Kai scissors, my elephant-eared embroidery scissors, all kinds of scissors, but these have a grip to them that made it really easy to it's almost like I didn't have to cut the fabric. It's almost like it just sort of slid through. It was fantastic. So then, once you get this to 1/8 of an inch, pretend like this is 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to turn it one more time and stitch, and that creates a hem that is about 1/8 of an inch wide, double fold. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Closer.
Okay, so that's a baby hem. Now, I want to talk about this trimming a little bit, and I'm going to get Erin back over here. We have a tool called a burden clamp, sometimes called a third hand, and it consists of a clamp and some pinchers, I'll call it. So I attach this to my table near my sewing machine. So you're my table.
Okay.
And I would then attach the work in between this. Now you back up just a little bit. All right. So now I can take my scissors. So that's my third hand. Now I can hold on to this work and get some tension on this, and I can let the work fall away, and that's how I can trim this so close without cutting into something that I don't want to cut. So this is a fantastic tool. I keep one of these set up all the time by my sewing machine, so it's ready to go. Thank you, table. All right, so we've shown you fabrics, we've talked about the new pattern, we've talked about what to wear it with, some techniques. Do we have any questions?
Okay. Is the 35 foot the same one used for the cording on the Ikena?
No. The cording foot is different. I don't remember the number, but this is clearly quite a different foot. This has 2 grooves, and the foot that for the cording had, oh, I know, I used a pin tuck foot. No, it's very different. A pin tuck foot has a squared out cutaway. This has a shape to it, and the shape is the shape of zipper teeth that are slightly at an angle. It's very different.
Okay, I have problems with the silk thread tailor tacks not staying in the fabric. Do you have any tips to help with that?
Yes, it's because you're probably not doing a knot. So to do a tailor tack the way we do it is to use a single strand of silk thread where the pin is inserted into the fabric. You're going to take 1 stitch, draw it up, leave about an inch tail, take another stitch, draw it up so you have a loose knot, and then trim that off to an inch. That'll never come out unless you take it out, which is sometimes what I do, and sometimes I leave them in. But you can sew over that and you can get it out. So I think you're not completing a stitch. If you're just trying to do one stitch, that's not going to do it.
When you cut single layer and the right side of the fabric is up, do you still flip one side of the pattern, or do you lay the pattern right side up also?
I lay the pattern right side up, pin along the fold line of the tissue, and then flip the pattern. And cut out the second half.
Okay. What size is your Coco blouse?
I'm wearing a medium. I kind of thought maybe today I probably could have worn a small, but I like the way this fits on my hips, so I think I'm happy with it. And in this fabric, it's so drapey, the medium's fine. Erin has on a large. She thought maybe she could wear a medium too. But it's all about fitting this band first. You know, it's not a bad idea to maybe make a muslin band first to sit on you. Because once you've committed to this, you know, there's not much room to alter this after you've cut it out and sewn it. So make sure that this band fits and then choose the size from there.
Any way to adjust the top for round bodies at tummy and butt?
Well, the butt thing, you know, it's not really a factor too much. But, you know, I think you could wear this longer and probably, I don't know, I'd have to think about that a little bit. You for sure can wear it shorter. You could wear this up around your waist more and just avoid the whole tummy butt thing. You could get it right up here. I just chose to make it a little bit longer.
Okay. What is your 6 cent skirt made out of?
My 6 cent skirt is made out of a cotton viscose blend knit, black knit.
So how do you size this top if your waist is disproportionately larger than your top?
That's a problem. It may not be for you.
Could you eliminate the waistband and make a tunic?
It would take some work to do that because this comes in at the body of this garment comes in at the waist, and then the band actually flares out. So you would have to create some shape below to make this into a tunic. I think that'd be tricky. Probably doable, but a lot of work.
I think if you wanted to adjust there, the tie idea would be nice.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay.
As I was making this on Sunday, though, I realized that I could have made a medium here or an XXL here or whatever you need here. And then the way the pattern is graded, I think you can make a smaller size on top. That may be a better answer to the previous question or two, where maybe you need to make an XXL here, but you want to go to a medium up here. You can use the medium shoulder, the medium length on the sleeve, and go from a medium to an extra large just to make sure that it connects at that point. I think that's pretty doable. I probably could have done that, but I was in a hurry.
Are there lengthening and shortening lines?
No.
Because you can't lengthen them.
The shape of this, there's so little space here. There's no way to do that. I think the lengthening is going to have to be at the very bottom. If you're going to, this is a pattern you could probably petite by folding it out across here and raising it a little bit. I think you could do that.
Can you cut these shears on the cross grain and will it stretch?
I don't know why not. It would depend on the fabric. They seem to be pretty stable both ways, so I think you can cut on the cross grain, and I don't think they're going to stretch. And I'm all tied up now with something that's coming out of here.
How do you keep fabric from being chewed up while stitching so closely to the edge?
You might want to use paper, use some tissue paper underneath. I didn't have to do that on this, but that is my solution if I'm having trouble. I'll take a piece of pattern tissue paper and put it under the edge and sew through the paper and then just tear it away.
Let's see.
Now, one other thing. I do use a throat plate that is a 5mm wide throat plate. If you're operating with a 9mm wide throat plate opening, you're going to have more trouble. So you might want to switch throat plates or put some Scotch tape over the holes on your throat plate so that the needle is only going through the same hole. That'll help. I did use a walking foot on this. I found that helped me.
I want to see mine again.
Okay.
So again, this is a knit.
Yep.
So in the large. So, and no lengthening or anything if you're thinking about the difference in the height. So,
Yep.
no lengthening. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Could you, I don't know if you exactly answered this before or not. Could you leave the band off and then lengthen it into a dress? I mean, we talked about tunic.
Sort of the whole tunic aspect.
Right.
You would have to, I think the answer is yes, but you would have to really shape this at the bottom because this seam right here is smaller than the bottom circumference of the hip band. So you just have to make sure that that dress gets over your hips. Yeah, probably. I'd have to really look at that. It'd be a great dress.
Well, and Betsy's working on a dress.
Well, that's
version,
right, but
right?
it's a two-piece dress.
True, and she's leaving the band, I think.
Is that right? Yeah. Betsy, you may want to type something in there. That's right. Next Tuesday when Betsy's here, we'll show her Coco dress. I don't know whether it's a full skirt. I have the feeling it might be, but I don't know that for sure.
I think so.
So that's another way to go. More of a peplum sort of thing that creates a tunic or dress. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's going to be cute.
Did Erin put a zipper in the knit top?
Yes, there's a zipper in the knit top, but we've talked about this. I think that if you use ribbing for the band or a super stretchy knit, you may not have to. But this one does have it. This knit's pretty stable, and so the zipper's in there. We've talked about the idea of putting a zipper in the back. I don't think you want to do that. But think about this. This seam here is your waist. You know, you've got to get inside of your waist seam to get this on.
Let's see. Where can you find the burden clamp?
We sell the burden clamp. In fact, it's going to be on sale this week. We have them. I'm sure you can Google burden clamps and other people sell them as well, but we do have them.
What is the Bernina foot with the extender thingy? Sounds like a conversation I had with Jean Stanley.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so you buy the Bernina shank. That is this one little short part here. This foot is baby lock. And so I call it generic. You can buy baby lock, brother, whoever has feet that attach to things. But that's from baby lock right there.
Okay.
And we have a customer, Jean, who was at a store, I think, and her dealer said, this can't happen.
Right.
It can. I use it all the time.
She was finally able to get it, and
yeah,
it worked.
she just don't tell them what you're doing. Just buy it.
What is the number of the shank? Number?
I don't know. There are two shanks, a long and a short, and I use the short one, and I don't know the number. There's no number on this one.
Is that something you think we could find a link to?
Probably. If you go to BerninaUSA.com and go to Press Your Feet, it's there. But every dealer is going to know what a shank is. So.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Lots of good conversation today, though.
All right. All right, well, remember that the sale items are all the fabrics are on sale this week. The E-dress, 6-cent skirt, West End, no.
The Coco.
The Coco, those are the three patterns on sale. Coco, 6-cent skirt, E-dress, those are the patterns on sale. All the fabrics are on sale. These notions are on sale. The third hand, the pins, the needles, and the Choco pens are on sale. And we have some tutorials on sale. The installing an invisible zipper tutorial is on sale. We also have sewing with silks on sale. Plus, I wanted to tell you about something that just came through. I finally got around to watching an instructor town hall meeting with Craftsy, which I had been hadn't done. And it reminded me that I have a Sewing with Silks class with Craftsy, where you make the Liberty shirt in a silk. And it was the very first class that I ever filmed with them. They still have it in their library, and I think it's a pretty good class. But today, there was an ad that came through from Craftsy, 56% off of a 5-class combo, Boost Your Knit Wits. And so it's 5 classes pertaining to sewing knits. 2 of them are mine. And so you may want to check out craftsy.com and check out their sale that's going on with sewing knits. But do check out the Sewing with Silks class on Craftsy, the Sewing with Silks tutorial. The Craftsy class obviously is a video. Our tutorial is a PDF, printable format, and then install an invisible zipper also. So those are our sales. So we already know what we're doing next week. Check us out next Tuesday, and we're going to welcome Betsy for our Facebook Live next Tuesday. So thanks so much for joining us again. See you next week.